Welcome to our June industry event. I'm broker owner of RE/MAX First and RE/MAX Tri-County. My name is Carl Sanfilippo, and this is my partner.
Hi, I'm Olivier Lewis, broker owner and Carl's partner in RE/MAX First Realty 2 in Cranford. And today we're going to be talking about the blueprint to building out a team.
So the natural progression that we see in real estate, and this was a natural progression that I went through as an agent, and Olivier was, you're a solo agent, you start doing a lot of business, and you want to go to build a team.
Yep.
So we both have built teams, and what we've noticed is some of the stuff that we've done wrong, and some of the stuff that we've done right. So we want to give you, the agent, the blueprint on how to build a successful, scalable, profitable team through leverage and other sources.
And we're going to unpack, there's the traditional team and there's ways to do it as a solo team with some back-end support. So we're really excited to give you guys some options and solutions and take from what we've learned and done to really build out your team, however that needs to be structured.
So I'm a big quote guy. Also like reading a lot of different books. This is one of my favorite quotes from Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, is faith is the end game, helps you live through the months or years of buildup. I also say is you can't compare your page 1 to somebody's page 100. And why this quote is so relevant for this training is when you're building a team, this is not something that happens overnight.
No.
You are going to go through highs and lows, but you have to have the faith that it's what you're going through is going to be worth it in the end. And this is true for any business. Agents come in and expect to do business day one. And what I always say is if you open up a restaurant, it takes a while to gain momentum and become profitable. Same with the real estate business and same with building a team. So if you're going to go down the path of building the team, and I always say a team is not right for everybody.
Correct.
Right? It's the big topic right now, and it is the natural progression in your business, but it's not something that's right for everybody. But you got to have the faith in the end game, and it helps you live through the months or years of the agony and build up.
Correct.
So I want to go through some must reads that I think will help people when trying to build a team. First, Good to Great with Jim Collins. This is a great book about how to build a big business. And I always use the example of Eckerd and Walgreens. Eckerd was a good company, and their business model was they would buy out mom and pop pharmacies in strip malls and whatever else, put their blue awning out there, and they were Eckerd. Eckerd is really not around anymore.
No.
But if you're watching this, and you could drop in the comments if you have, who here has heard of Walgreens?
Everyone.
Right? Walgreens is the example of great. And what Walgreens said is we're going to have a specific business model. We aren't just going to buy out all these mom and pop pharmacies. We are going to build on corner lots with an entrance on both roads, and we're going to make that our pharmacies. So whenever I tell people that story, they always text me afterwards and said, I drove by a Walgreens car and I realized you're right. It was on a location. So do you want to be good in your business or do you want to be great? Do you want to separate yourself from the pack? Do you want to be Eckerd's or do you want to be Walgreens when building a team? So it's a great book to read about how to build and scale.
Correct. I've read all three of these. Thanks for the recommendations over the years. And a lot of these books, the three, the E-Myth and Top Grading, they provided some aha moments for me. So I know we're all busy running our businesses and our personal lives. So if you can't pick up a hard copy book, do the audio, because Good to Great really helped me have some aha moments of little things that you can tweak and just looking at the big picture and growing your business. And that can be a little shift that makes a massive change in your business. So I support and recommend and I concur. These are great books to read.
Another good book is E-Myth Revisited. That's talked about being, are you in the business or are you running the business, right? A lot of times agents get lost and are so busy in the business, they never get time to work on the business. Top Grading Last is a great book if you're looking to hire. It helps you ask questions to identify talent, which we're going to go into later in this training.
Absolutely.
But this is and there's a smaller version of Top Grading, which I read, which is recommended to me by one of my mentors, Wayne Frederick. But these three are must reads for anybody who's thinking to make that transition into becoming a team leader. Why do you want to have a team? When I looked at having a team was because I was starting to get so busy with all the listings that I was carrying was that I couldn't get the buyers leads, and I really needed to build a team because of the overflow of leads, because me and my administrative team were handling everything we could. So when I started a team, I was at the point where I had a lot of listings and I had 2 admins and we hit our max capacity.
Great.
So what we did was then we started hiring buyer's agents onto the team, which really helped us fuel the growth of our team, especially having those admins there in place.
Yep.
What about you, Olivier? What do you think?
So I built a team, and not traditional, and I'm going to cover this a little bit more, but I hit my capacity. I didn't want to manage buyer agents necessarily, so I built an internal back office support team. And again, for those watching, you don't have to build a traditional team. Sometimes it's the back office, but that helped alleviate me from doing a lot of the field work and keeping me in front of clients and the money generating activities versus all the field administrative. So I built a back office team to help support me in the field and with the paperwork, and that helped me scale with the sales.
Everybody watching this, and listen, this is one of the last virtuals. We're going to go back to doing some in-person trainings. We will have a virtual component as always. Yeah. So I used to ask this question: who here has tried a team, failed, and think, I don't know if a team is right for me? Yeah. I've been there. Yeah. I'm sure Olivier's been there. A lot of people watching this have been there. Having a team, and what I see a lot of agents thinking, oh, this is great, I have leads, I'll get team members, they'll convert, we'll make more money. And when they come to the harsh reality is, it eats up a lot more of their time, doesn't free them up, and in fact, they aren't making more money having a team. We have seen this happen. Numerous people, I've coached a lot of teams who have been in this situation. We've been able to turn it around into highly scalable, profitable teams. But this is one of the downfalls that we have seen. Yeah. Also, the money. Yeah. Like I talked about, you think I'm going to have buyer's agents, I'm going to make more money. But what happens is you're hiring buyer's agents who are not converting leads at the same capacity you would be converting leads. So not are you not making more money, you're making less money, because if you had the right infrastructure and you were able to convert that level at the lead at the high level that you're able to, you'd be more profitable. Yeah.
And another thing is, with becoming a team leader, you take on new roles that you may not have currently, things that you may not enjoy as much as the sales and helping clients and the fulfilling part of selling homes. So there's that component, which is your time. Now your time is divided between the sales and the things you love to now managing, running, coaching, training, answering questions, etc. And the financial component of you have to generate and pay for more systems, whether it's leads, etc., to manage the team and give them the tools that are provided. Right. So those are some of the things that agents don't look at. They just look at, hey, more leads and I can get a split. But, and to Carl's point as well, those buyer agents are not converting at your level. And it takes time to train them. And in the meantime, if you were working the leads and had a lot of the back-end support stuff handled, you can convert higher and convert more leads. So it's interesting. You have to really analyze it. Is this the right move for you?
And I just want to emphasize what Olivier and I are talking about today. This isn't theory. This isn't something that we read out of a book that was written 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. We are talking about experiences that we've had growing a team, scaling businesses, whether it's brokerages, whether it's our real estate team. And we're just trying to give everybody a realistic version of some of the downfalls of the team, because sometimes on social media and other places, you see the glorified part, but you don't see the other part. So this is what we kind of want to show everybody today. So let me ask, Olivier, when is it the right time to start a team?
When you hit your capacity. When you spend time doing all the other administrative back office fields stuff and you can't keep up with your clients. When you have more clients than you can service and you're not able to manage it all, that's when you start a team, in my opinion.
I agree 110%.
Yep.
So when do you hire?
When the stuff is getting in the way. When you have more business and leads than you can get to, follow up with. So at that point, that's when you got to look to hire and really start to delegate.
When I was in sales, and in my first calendar year, I did about 15 million in sales, and this was back in 2007, 2008. What I noticed really quick was I was not good at paperwork, and this is before we had .loop and all the online portal. So I was not good at paperwork. I had to hire an assistant. They asked where my files were. I was so embarrassed to show them where the files were and what my systems were and everything. So I know I needed to outsource that administrative work so I could focus on my capacity and what my unique ability is, and that was to be the rainmaker, generate the business. My ability was not back office transaction work. Mine was to get the business in the door. And you know what? That's what I really enjoyed. So when I hired an admin and it worked out, and listen, hiring an admin is a whole other topic. We'll go a little bit into it. And I've hired some, in my real estate business, I've hired some real admins that weren't the right fit. And that wasn't shame on them. That was shame on me for not doing it right. And I've learned through the years. But when I got my first admin that I really clicked with and it worked, it freed me up and my business grew. And I enjoyed it more because I was doing what I really enjoyed doing and what I was really good at. And I always say, well, I talk about victory in this business. Victory to me in this business is when you're doing the amount of business you want to do in the amount of time that you want to allocate to doing it. So for me, when I had the first admin hire and then I did a second admin hire, that's when I was really clicking on all cylinders.
Great.
So again, when you're effective and as efficient as you can be, and you allocate your career and master the art of generating business, right? If you're still struggling with your lead gen and you're not getting that consistent flow of business, it might not be the right time to look at that admin.
Correct.
So why do you want to delegate?
Must make the most and effective, efficient use of your time, right? Your time is spent converting leads, selling properties, and it's not best to spend it doing other things. Spend the time, and that's why you want to delegate, spending the time doing what makes the most money to grow your business, and that's when you start to delegate.
Right, and I delegated because I wanted to use the highest and best use of my time, which was generating new business, looking to grow, and I still have the same attitude today, right? Is I want to focus on what I'm good at.
You must eliminate the peaks and valleys. So if your business is up and down, if you're not consistent, that's probably because you need to delegate some stuff. Take some things off your plate and focus on the sales. If you're always focusing on the sales, we know the metrics, guys. More conversations lead to more appointments, which leads to more sales. And if there's a break in that, that's where you have peaks and valleys. So if you find that you don't have enough time to keep the conversations, to keep the appointments going, you may need to delegate some tasks so you can focus on the sales activities.
Right. Who here's had a bunch of property, who's watching this, that have had a lot of properties under contract. You're working so hard on getting all those properties that are under contract closed, and then you realize, oh no, I have no business.
No business, no pipeline.
We've been there. We've all been there, right? And I know people watching this have been there. And what happens is when you get an admin who can help with the transaction and you take that time and focus on consistently generating business, consistently prospecting will eliminate your peaks and valleys.
Yep. Must be wealthy, thus you need wealth determiners. So you have to focus on generating income to keep the business going. If you want to grow and scale, there are going to be hires. They cost money, whether it's staff or systems or tools. So you have to keep income coming in. And to do that, you got to eliminate the peaks and valleys.
Right, and you want to build a business to live at the highest level. And listen, that's different for everybody. You might be watching this going, I'm doing enough business the way I am. I'm okay the way things are. I don't know if I want an admin and grow. That's fine. Or I might not want a team. I enjoy doing my business. That's a personal decision. But if you're really looking to watch this because you want to grow a team, you want to scale, you want to leverage and produce higher numbers, then this is the stuff that you have to take into consideration.
Yep. So ways to increase your income. You can do more and you can leverage your time. So by leveraging your time, you're able to do more. You can't be everywhere all the time. Right? And what's going to happen is something's going to suffer, and you don't want your sales to suffer. So if you leverage people, resources, systems, you can free yourself up to do more. So have you hit your capacity? Right? Carl and I just talked about that. So I hit my capacity, you hit your capacity with 2 admins, and you had to continue to grow. So I created what's a non-traditional team, and we're going to get into team leaders next. But my non-traditional team, just to unpack what I did, was I had back-end support. So I had someone in the field. Well, first I hired an admin, and that freed me up. And like Carl, I didn't enjoy the paperwork. It was not something I woke up to like, yes, I'm going to do all these contracts and write up all these listings and have to spend hours putting them in the MLS. That was not my thing. I enjoyed the business to business, the client relationships, et cetera, the art of the negotiation, right? So an admin freed me up from all the paperwork, the emails from the MLS, you're not hitting this date, all the tedious work. And that freed up hours and hours for me every week, which allowed me to focus on the tasks that I love and the things that I was good at and the things that drove more revenue to my business. Next, I realized so many hours are spent out in the field. And as agents, sometimes you don't really analyze this, but leaving the office to go drive half hour to open a door for a 15-minute radon pickup to drive back to the office, you lose so much time. And I realized there's so much of that. Going to drop this off, waiting for 9 to 1, those magical hours, right? Those windows of time for inspectors. So I got a field person that actually helped take all that stuff off my plate. And it allowed me to sit in the office, follow up, convert more leads, and focus on the tasks that work. So this was a non-traditional team in team senses, because most team leaders are looking to hire a buyer agent, and that's what you see. But you can, if you want to, just do it with the support and keep the sales to yourself and not have to go generate more leads, work your referrals. So look at your capacity. Are you there? Can you add more? Can you do more by adding some help? Or do you look at more of a traditional team? So systems and process also helped. And I think whatever kind of team, or even as an individual agent, if you decide not to build out a team, you need systems and a process. You don't want to leave things up to remembering. You don't want to miss something falls between the cracks because it looks bad. It's not a great customer experience. It will hurt your business. So figure out what systems you need, document everything. As you hire staff, hire field people, you need a process. One of the things we see often, and guys, we're trying to shorten your learning curve, is that team leaders, agents hire people and they're like, fix my business.
Right.
Or run my business. Or, you look at each other like, day one, what are you going to do for me? But you need the process. You need a system. You need everything documented. You need the checklist. So make sure you have that, not only for yourself, but as you hire someone, there's a process that they could follow. And if you have to replace that person, it's plug and play.
The team leader, the secret to success with being a team leader is having good leadership, right? You have to lead by example. People want to be on a team where the team leader is making their life better, their work better, helping them create more money. If you're there as a team leader and your whole attitude is what can I get from my team members, it's not going to work, right? As a team leader, you need to be thinking is, how can I make their life better? How can this work better for the team member? You want them to have longevity. When you focus on giving to the team members, and listen, also let me say giving to the team members, but also responsible with the numbers and making it a win-win. But it can't be all about you as a team leader because it never works. So this is another great quote. Yep. Tony Dungy, former football coach, team leaders, secret to success is good leadership. And good leadership is all about making the lives of your team members and workers better.
And I'm going to add to that. It's the same process and concept of working for the client, right? Putting your client's needs first, and the business will come and the money will come and the deals will come. You have to work for your buyer agent and help them. If you're not in it to help them and it's all about you, you won't have longevity with that buyer agent, and the turnover it will kill your time. So great quote there.
Right. So Olivier, I'm a team leader. What should I be doing? What are some of my responsibilities?
You have to lead your team. So you have to provide vision and a mission statement. You have to have the direction of what they should be focused on, what they should be doing, their day-to-day. You really have to step up and be a leader.
Right, and this is something that we've done even on the brokers level with our team members and the staff, is that we are very focused on growth, and we make that very known. So as a team leader, what type of mission, what type of vision are you telling your buyers agents where you want to go, what the goals are, where you see the team heading? Are you communicating? Because all of that's extremely important.
And do they know their roles, right? With the vision, they should know their role, how they fit in, and have a day-to-day of what they should be working on.
Right. And if you're looking to grow your team, what do you need to grow your team?
Got to recruit.
Got to recruit. You
have to find
recruit.
talent. You have to recruit.
Yes, and you always have to be keeping out your eye open for people who you think could be a good fit for your team.
We have a saying, which is you always have to build a bench. So those agents that are showing your properties a lot, and you know that they're buyer agents, whether they're newer or up and coming agents, those are people that you have conversations with, and hopefully you can build your bench with some of those.
Right, you have to consult with your team members. As the leader, you have to lead, you have to advise, you have to cut down the learning curve of your team members. I mean, that's where your value is. So you have to be constantly consulting, meeting with the team members.
Yeah. And you have to prepare goals. They have to have mile markers to hit. They have to have goals. They have to be accountable. Otherwise, they're just there trying to do some deals. But there has to be part of the vision is here's what my expectations are of you. What are your expectations of me? You have to have goals. You have to be accountable. And it's your job as a team leader to weekly meet with them or bi-weekly, however often you feel best, to make sure that they're sticking to those goals and you're holding them accountable.
Right, team leader, you have to pay the bills. You have to have a team budget. You have to make sure you're reviewing the financial statements. And you have to be identifying talent.
Yeah.
You have to have talented people on the admin level. You have to have talented people on your team members. We'll talk a little bit, if you have virtuals that are supporting some of your team members, you have to have talented virtuals. And you have to train.
Yeah.
Right? This is a 5-letter word that agents don't love hearing.
Yeah.
But if you bring somebody on and you're not training them to the systems and you're not showing them how things are done, you're going to have a tough time. And I can tell you the first time I hired an admin, they sat down at the desk and looked at me. I looked at them. They said, okay, what do I do? I'm like, I don't know. That's why I hired you. What are you going to do? Like, how do you do this? You have to be able to train your admin and your team members.
And a lot of team leaders, it's not your fault, but I've seen this, Carl and I have both seen this, where you forget that you know more than the new agent. And you don't know what they know or don't know. So you have to actually unpack how much they know, how much help they need. And you become a little biased to the learning curve because you've already done it. And it's muscle memory for you. And you know it all, but they don't. So you constantly have to be training. Don't assume that they know the things you know. You have to really unpack what they need to learn, but always be training.
I think there's a saying about assume, right?
Yeah.
We won't go there, but there's a saying
there.
about assume.
Yeah.
And also too with training, if you're an agent in our office, if you go into the center, our center under our agent academies, we have a lot of the training videos already built out to alleviate the team member from when they hire to have to do it. That's talking about systemizing and building those processes.
Absolutely.
The most important thing when building a successful real estate team is talent. Yep. I think there's a common theme today in today's training is that you're going to keep hearing the word talent. If you're not surrounded by talented people, you're not going to be able to build to the level you want.
Yep. And I've seen, and again, this is both of us, where you have too many leads, you really need to offload some of them. So rather than looking for talent, you just get a body, and that doesn't work. So you have to get the right people or it's not going to work. So talent, again, is what you need.
So what is talent? Talent is someone who's a perfect match for the job description and possesses the skills, knowledge, and competencies you desire.
Yep.
And a lot of people say, when I have money, I'll hire talent, or when I hire talent, I'll have money. You're truly better off by yourself than hiring substandard talent.
And that was my point, right? Don't get a body, don't get the wrong person in that role, whether it's an admin, whether it's a buyer agent, whether it's a field person. Because it will be detrimental to your business and you're not going to grow from it. You're just going to lose time and money. So look for talent.
And with top grading, the book we mentioned before has a lot of questions in there that will help you identify talent. If you sit down and you have 3 people and you sit down with 3 people and you ask them the same questions, talented people, you're going to notice how they answer the questions. So what I say is this, I've seen agents do this, they put an ad out on Indeed, Craigslist, whatever it might be. First person that applies, they bring them in, they say, this is the job I need. The person who needs a job is sitting across the table saying, yes, I could do that. They said, great. They hire them, they come in and they realize this person really wasn't the right fit for the job. So you gotta really slow down. We say hire slow. If someone's not the right fit, move on quickly. But hiring a talent is a benefit, not a cost.
Correct.
A bad hire costs you money, time, and opportunity. A good hire saves you money and doesn't cost opportunity. A great hire, and you know when you make a great hire, frees your time, makes you a lot of money, and creates multiple opportunities.
We like to call hires investments,
Yes.
right? They're going to pay themselves back and provide dividends in your time, opportunity, which drives revenue. Right. So don't look at it as a cost or an expense. It's only a cost or an expense if it's a bad hire. If it's a good or great hire, it's a great investment.
So what would happen if you made a great hire and it freed up your time? What opportunities would come your way? Right? Just take a minute and think about that. What would that freedom do for you? What would the other opportunities that you could look at, what would happen?
Yeah.
The first hire, so we're gonna talk a little bit about structure before I start. And listen, everybody has their team set up different ways. We're not saying this is what we've learned from our experiences. So if you have a team and it's structured different and it's working for you, fantastic, right? This is not us saying this is the only way that you can do it.
Correct.
We are just sharing our experiences from what we've gone through.
Correct.
So your first hire should not be a buyer's agent.
Typically not.
Typically not. Many agents do this first and they create a bottleneck in their business. And again, this is what we've seen.
Yeah. So buyer agents, and why we say this is, we've seen a lot of team leaders hire a buyer agent and they make that buyer agent do their admin work.
Correct.
Hey, do this contract for me. Hey, write this up. Can you send this addendum out? And that's what we mean by not hiring a buyer agent first, because what's going to happen is you're going to be having this buyer agent do your admin work versus converting leads, bringing sales, and driving revenue. So you're better off. You're losing money if you're doing that. But if you can't find the right admin, as we mentioned before, don't hire the wrong person, but try to avoid the buyer agent first. And they can't do your field work. They can't sit a 9-to-1 inspection. You want that buyer agent out with clients and not running back and forth to cities for COs, et cetera. So that's why we say try to get the back end support. But again, if you don't find the right person, continue with your buyer agent until you do find the right admin.
The first hire to make when building a real estate team is your administrative assistant. All right, we've talked about this before. It was my first hire.
Yeah, my first hire
It
as
was
well.
Olivier's first hire. I actually made a second hire before I started bringing in more agents. Yeah. We had a runner as well. So administrative assistant is really big. What can they do? They can manage your website. They can manage your emails. They can answer calls. Yeah. They could create updated vendor lists that you can provide to your clients. They can mail your appropriate letters and notes, and they can run your past client system. Think about it, if your past client system could use a boost and you had an admin that you're paying to do it, and they were able to create you another 4 to 5 transactions a year by doing this, what does that look like? That administrative assistant should be an investment, not an expense that's gonna help you generate business.
Correct.
Order supplies, enter into the MLS, they can make copies, whatever you need done, update prospecting, tracking charts. What's great too is if you run a team and you have the right admin, the admin becomes the nucleus of the team.
Yep.
So what happens is the admin can help with the training of the buyer's agents. When the buyer's agents have questions, they don't always have to come to you as the team leader. They can go to that administrative person to free up your time. So what happens is if you have a team without the administrative part, is sometimes you become part of the administrative team. And that happened to me personally.
Correct.
They can keep your calendar and they can help with transaction coordination to see the deal through to closing. Again, to free up your time to create new opportunities.
And also help you track, right? Tracking the leads, tracking what your buyer agent's doing. There's so much tracking, what's working, what's not working. So that admin is a key role.
Let's talk about making a great hire. I always say you got to be slow to hire, quick to fire, right? Reality is you might hire somebody and it's not a good fit. You might not be a good fit. They might not be a good fit. It's not fair to you or that person to keep them on. So you want to hire slow. You want to have a process for your hiring. And if it's not working out, you also want to move on.
Yeah. And one quick thing with that is sometimes we ignore what's in front of us, right? You're afraid to go back to doing the admin work, or you're making excuses for them. If you notice a problem, you got to deal with it. As team leaders, this is part of leadership. This is part of running a business. If you notice it's not the right person, address it. If there's an error made with the admin, don't say, oh, it takes me 2 seconds to fix it, because you're going to have that error repeatedly. take the time, take the step back, and cover it. And this is the training part.
Right. And if you're going through admin after admin and it's not working, you also have to look a little bit in the mirror. Are you providing the right training? Do you have the right hiring process before bringing that person in? Because I've seen agents who have done that, who've gone through admins and they think something, but it's really something on their process or something how they're onboarding or training that admin.
Correct.
So
where do you find talent? Everywhere. As we mentioned before, looking at talent from buyer agents, showing listings, and just people out in the field, always looking to build a bench. So talent may or may not have a real estate license. Don't limit yourself to just an agent, right? The right person will learn quickly and be a stellar agent.
And you can always get that admin to get licensed. If they're the right admin and they're willing to do so and the expectation set. You can have them get licensed. So don't get so caught up on the person has to be licensed. If you have a good, talented person, you can get them licensed. So Monster.com, Indeed. We're talking a little bit about a screening process. So what I do is when we hire somebody is, if they have an application and it looks like something that might work, number one, we'll ask them to tell us a little something about why they're a good fit for the position. And the reason we do that is if they apply and they don't take that time to follow the directions and tell us why they'd be a good fit, I don't look at the resume. Because when you put job applications out there, you're going to get a lot of resumes. So how do you screen through it? So we do the screening thing. Tell us why you're a little bit of a good fit. If you don't tell us why you're a good fit, I don't read the resume, period. Once I get it, I will then reply saying, thank you for your application. Please follow these 4 steps. Send me an email with a job application in the title. Take this DIS test, attach the DIS test as a PDF. I give 4 specific instructions. People are thinking, why do you do that? Because if the admin I'm looking to hire can't follow the specific directions that I'm asking in the beginning, do you think they're gonna follow the specific directions I need when they're working for me? No. Right? So instead of me having to go through and interview everybody, I set up the screening process, because if you're able to get through this screening process, then I know that you're going to be probably a good fit. So we try to do that, and that's why we don't have that much turnover when it comes to administrative. So you want to have a screening process because it's so crucial.
Correct.
You could do Craigslist. I always say you got to prepare for a lot of bad resumes. You could do local colleges. You could do, we'll talk a little bit about VAs. There's talented people across the country. Across the world. Across the world.
And VAs are great. And I personally scaled with VAs. And at first I was a little hesitant, but then I realized the admin we had in our office, running the office, I wasn't going to her every 5 minutes physically to say, hey, do this or do that. We were emailing, we were using chat rooms. So I realized I don't need someone here in front of me. VAs are great. It saves you a little bit of money. And what I like about them is they are really, really appreciative of their jobs. They're hard workers. Someone that is willing to do it virtually is just as good as someone in front of you if it's the right person. And you have to interview them. You don't just hire someone online that says, hey, I could do this job. You take them through the screening process. And to Carl's point, if they're not following the instructions, don't even bother, guys. Don't ignore what's in front of you. If they don't follow the instructions, delete, because there's tons of other resumes.
And I want to go through a little bit of hack of what I did. So what I would do is at the beginning, I would get VAs and I would have project based, whether it's scrubbing some data, whatever it might be. So I would go on a website like Fiverr, I would put out the job ad, I would get a bunch of people that would apply. So let's just say it was a $15, $20 project job. What I would do is instead of hiring one person, I would hire 3 or 4. I'd spend a little bit more money up front. I would send each of them the project, have them give back to me what they completed, and then I would see which one did the best job. So then when I needed it again or another project, instead of having to look for somebody, I built a relationship with that person who already proved themselves, and I would go to them. So what it did was people say, well, why would you want to spend the more money? In my eyes, I spent less money because I didn't have to waste more time seeing if somebody else could do the project, putting it back out there. So once I was able to narrow it down, it's good. I would go back to that VA, and it's not all just overseas. Some of the VAs I worked with were in the United States. They just didn't live in New Jersey. They did the projects, whatever else. But that was a great way, and I learned how to work with VAs. Referrals from attorneys, mortgage reps, other agents, might be agent who might not be making it as an agent, but who has really good admin skill sets. So you always want to keep your eye out for that.
And one other tip with that, not only for admins, how many agents here that already have teams that flipped their buyers and clients into team members?
Right.
That's very, very common, and it happens a lot. I know in Cranford we have probably 4 agents that used to be clients of our team leaders. So always keep your eye out for talent, admin or buyer agent wise.
So we went over this a little bit before about our screening process with our admins. So again, we talked about the screening, then we talked about the DISC test. The DISC test, Tony Robbins has a DISC. So the letters are D-I-S-C. I've taken the test myself.
Yep.
I am a high D, high I, which my I's been decreasing lately over the years, I feel like, but I'm a high D, very driven. So what I do is I like to hire people who are high S, high C's. So C are people who are very detail-oriented, cross I's, dot T's. I know my weaknesses, and that is not what I'm good at. So I hire for what I'm not good at, so that the person can focus on what they're good at, and I can focus on what I'm good at.
Yep. So follow a process, have a process, and if you need help, that's where Carl, myself, your broker, et cetera, there should be someone to help you that has hired admin and staff before. If you kind of don't know where to begin, or in between deciding, sometimes having that second opinion and having someone else interview them can help you really unpack if that's the right person or not.
So let's talk about some general questions you should ask people. Tell me about your recreations, your hobbies, your family. What do you do? How do you spend your free time? What formal education seminars have you participated in, and when? Describe reading habits. What's the best book you've read in the last 12 months and why? Tell me about your previous jobs, your likes and dislikes. What were your most and least successful jobs? And I'm going to talk about this. So we hired somebody here to help with agent services and helping people. And when I spoke with her, and everyone in our office probably knows who I'm talking about, but she was working at Verizon, and she's like, I didn't really enjoy the sales part, but I enjoy helping people when their phones weren't working and fixing their problems. That to me was exactly what the job that we were hiring for. So with me asking those questions, I was able to see if somebody was a good fit and talented for the position. What sorts of obstacles have you faced in your present, recent positions? What did you do to overcome that? Because you always want to see people who have grit, tenacity, and be able to work through things.
And are problem solvers, because the admin role, our sales role, we're solving problems.
Yeah, so these are just a bunch of the questions that you could ask. If you want a copy of the slides, please reach out. We'll keep them in there. But we do have you would want to have to go through all the questions.
And quick story, similar to yours, but reverse. I interviewed with one of our agents last week for an admin that she wants to hire. And I asked, what did you like about your previous role? Where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years? And this admin said she really enjoyed sales in her previous role. So right away, we knew that was not the right fit for an admin role.
Correct.
Now, we turned around and said, hey, you should get licensed and maybe look at doing sales if that's your ultimate goal and that's what you enjoy. But asking the questions. Don't make the interview and the meeting about you and just explaining what your team is. You have to make it about them. And the best way is to ask questions to really learn and unpack what they're looking to accomplish.
And like I said, what I've seen a lot of agents do, and I was guilty of this in the beginning, is that my interview process was like, hey, Olivier, this is what I need. I need X, Y, Z. And Olivier needs a job. And so Olivier said, I could do it. Great. And it was a disaster.
People interview well. Remember that. On the interviews, they're on their best behavior. So they're always going to tell you what you want to hear and make themselves seem great. The best way to really unpack who they are is to just ask questions.
And we also hired an admin, and we hired, there was 3 finalists. And one was an admin that I had screened, and the other 2 were one that the agent had screened. One of the ones that the agent screened had gave me the resume. Previous job, let's just say they said they worked for ABC Mortgage. I forget what the name was, but it was a 3 acronym, ABC Mortgage. Okay. So she keeps telling me, oh yeah, when I worked at ABC Mortgage, and I keep looking at the resume, and the resume was spelled ACB Mortgage. So I said to her, I said, do me a favor, could you just take a second, can you just phonetically spell for me exactly what the mortgage is? Now, this is somebody who kept telling me how detail-oriented they were. So she said, yes, the company is ABC Mortgage. I looked back down at the resume, it was ACB Mortgage, right? To me, that's a flag. You're telling me you're detail-oriented, you could tell someone something or you could show them. Right there, I said, this was a red flag. This is not going to be the right hire. If this is a mistake they're making on their resume for an interview, where they're not even spelling the name of their last company right. So
Correct.
look at these key little indicators and ask questions. Just don't tell them about the job. You want to find out about the person you're looking to hire.
Absolutely.
So great, Olivier. Hire admins, we're rocking and rolling. Who should I be hiring next?
Buyer agent, right? And this is going back to your capacity. If you have more leads, if you have more clients, if you have more opportunities than you can handle, this is where you need a buyer agent, buyer specialist to help you focus on the ones or the clients that you need to focus on. And the excess, you can definitely refer out or pass on to them. So certain things that they can do: attend closings, follow up with all the referral leads, show homes, make follow-up calls, write offers, negotiate contracts, put all the buyers through their buyer process, hold open houses, follow up with the sign calls, etc. A lot of our team leaders have the calls directly routed to their buyer specialists because they can't handle all of the sign calls, the online calls, and with an admin, you can track it and really make sure that the leads are being responded to, etc. Accountability, weekly meetings, complete contracts, and also have them trained so that they can manage, learn, and really be great at their buyer scripts and doing buyer consultations, because you want them to convert. You want them to get to your level of conversion, so as many opportunities as they can close.
So after the buyer's agent, and I actually did this before I had the buyer's agents, was a transaction coordinator. And the transaction coordinator can circulate all the paperwork, communicate with the attorneys, communicate with the lenders. They can see the closing go from the offer acceptance all the way to closing, making sure checks are there, making sure signs get picked up, making sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And what happens is when you're able to unload some of the process of the deal, it frees you up to do more prospecting and everything else.
And who's ever had this happen, for those of you out there watching, where your client, the seller, calls and says, hey, the closing date on the contract was yesterday, what's going on? And you're, oh, let me get back to you. Sure. Or, the mortgage commitment date is passed and you weren't aware and your client tells you. So that's why a transaction coordinator, closing coordinator is great, because it puts everything in your calendar. They're responsible. You'll have the heads up, and it's a proactive way to be in control of the deal.
And something I hear a lot is, well, my client wants to hear from me. They don't want to hear from somebody else. And I'm going to tell you a situation with my transaction coordinator that I had. I pick up the phone and it was my client. And my client goes, oh, Carl. I'm like, yeah, I know, how you doing? Everything's going. They're like, yeah, I called. I'm sorry, but I actually really wasn't calling for you. I was calling for the transaction coordinator. They're like, because I have a question and I know she'll know the answer. And I'm just thinking, all right, so you're thinking I'm not going to know the answer. But to me, that's when I knew I was firing on all cylinders, because you had talented people around you that my client was comfortable with them. And I'm telling you, if you have the right support staff interacting with your clients, they're going to help you generate referrals.
Absolutely.
That's their job. So, don't always think that you have to have every single conversation with them.
Yep.
So after that is you could have a listing coordinator, and we got to my point on my team where we did have a listing coordinator and the listing coordinator, what they would do, and you can blend this in with your transaction coordinators, they could order the photos, they could send all the paperwork to the seller. They become point of contact with any questions with the seller during the process. Communicate with the agents regarding availability and status. Who here's had a lot of listings? And you get crazy with your phone ringing, asking people if the house is available. Right? That used to be one of my biggest pet peeves, and I know yours as well.
Yeah, chasing down things like missing lead paints, buyer pre-approvals, just coordinating with the signage being installed, et cetera. There's so much out there that you can delegate and take off your plate. So again, you can focus on the things that generate deals and transactions to the business. So that's a great hire, or merging it with your transaction coordinator.
Runner.
One of my favorite positions.
I was just going to say one of my favorite positions as well.
So placing, removing signs, that's one of the many tasks. Taking pictures, interior, exterior, taking room measurements, things like that. Double checking when the seller says, I had the smokes and carbons installed, making sure that the things are accurate, making sure you have the right smoke detectors and everything, delivering home flyers, delivering pre-listing packages. We're big believers in when you get a listing appointment to deliver a pre-listing package to help your appointment keep and really separate yourself from the other agents that the seller may be interviewing. So the runner could definitely deliver that. Placing and removing lock boxes. Who's here has gone to a home to list it and there's still the lock box from years ago, right? We're not great at picking up our lock boxes.
And I see we have a mistake. Drop off FSBO Packers. That should be packets, but
Packets, yep,
right?
yep.
They can help you locate for sale by owners.
Exactly.
They could drop off marketing materials, the pre-listing stuff for you.
Yep.
They can make house keys if you need that. So a runner could really free you up because some of this stuff could take up your whole day when you're all said and done.
Yeah, and it's not stuff that really drives business, but has to get done.
So Olivier, let me ask you, what do all these positions have to have in common?
They have to be talented. They have to be the right fit.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
So team leader, administrative assistant, buyer's agent, transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, runner.
Yep.
This is a basic blueprint on how to scale a team to levels that you might not even thought were possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So each position needs to have a manual of exactly what needs to be done.
Yep.
You must run your team like you can franchise it because you'll have life happens.
Yep.
People might move. You might need to get a new administrator or whatever. If you don't have this stuff broken down into manuals and how to do it, when you hire the next person, it's going to be extremely hard if you don't have all this.
Yep.
So we just want to say thank you. We started doing the virtual trainings like this again, maybe about a year ago, last July.
A year ago, yeah.
We're excited to get back to in-person. We are going to have in-person now with a more virtual component.
Correct.
So keep an eye out for July as I do 5 creative ways to generate listings. What I'm going to talk about is how to generate listings that are not your average of your mill ways of doing it. Not your just call expireds, call FSBOs, get referrals. We're going to talk about 5 creative ways that most people probably haven't even taught you on how to generate listings. So that's going to be in July. We're going to be doing a session in the Pines Manor. We're also going to be doing a session down by Hamilton, so keep an eye out for those dates and everything like that. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Slides.
Need the slides, have any questions, feel free to reach out. We appreciate your attendance. We're very excited about doing it again in person. Hopefully we'll get to see many of you out in person at the Pines or the event down in Hamilton. So thank you all for attending today, and I think that's it.
Yeah. So again, keep an eye out for future trainings, and we'll see you then.
Take care.